Ancient strategy, modern sales, one usable line per episode.
Last time, go indirect, arrive first. Today, why the obvious path fails. And why doing what everyone else does is the fastest way to get ignored. I went to a sales conference last year. Every speaker shared the same tactics. Personalize the first line of your cold email. Use the prospect's name in the subject line. Follow up 3 times. Lead with pain points. Every representative in the room wrote it all down.
And then what happened?
Thousands of reps went home and did the exact same thing. Every prospect inbox filled with emails that started with a personalized observation and ended with a soft CTA. They all looked identical. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why best practices become worst practices, and how to find paths nobody else is taking. My old belief: follow the playbook. The best practices exist because they work. If top performers do it this way, I should too. Don't reinvent the wheel, just execute the proven approach.
That belief has an expiration date.
What do you mean?
A tactic works because it's unexpected. When only a few people personalize cold emails, it stands out. When everyone does it, it becomes noise. The tactic didn't stop working because it was wrong. It stopped working because it became obvious.
So the problem isn't the tactic itself.
The problem is adoption. The moment a strategy becomes common knowledge, it becomes common practice. And common practice is, by definition, what everyone expects. Expected approaches trigger automatic defenses. Not because they're bad, because they're familiar. Sun Tzu described this dynamic precisely. Yi yu wei ji, make the roundabout way the direct way. The chapter on maneuvering warns, when the direct route is known to all, it becomes the most dangerous route. The path everyone takes is the path that's most heavily guarded.
Because the defender knows exactly where to put the walls.
Exactly. If you're a general and you know the enemy will march through the valley, you fortify the valley. You place your archers on both ridges. The path is clear, easy, obvious, and lethal. The obvious route is a trap, not because someone set it, but because predictability itself is the trap. Remember that. We'll see it play out in modern sales.
So obvious paths are defended not by design, but by accumulation. Everyone going the same way creates the defense.
The crowd creates the wall. Every salesperson sending the same templated email builds the prospect's resistance to that template. The defense isn't planned, it's emergent, and it's invisible to the people still using the template.
And in sales, what does this look like practically?
Think about what happens when a new sales technique goes viral. First month, response rates are high. The approach feels fresh. Second month, response rates drop. Other reps are using it too. Third month, prospects actively filter it. The technique is burned, not because it was flawed, because the path became obvious.
So the shelf life of any sales tactic is inversely related to how many people know about it.
The more popular the path, the more defended it becomes. This is why the best salespeople constantly find new angles. Not because they're creative for creativity's sake, but because they understand that obvious approaches carry the highest resistance.
That explains why my cold email template stopped working. It was great for 6 months. Then everyone started using the same format. Now it gets the same response as everything else: silence.
Let's look at the specific ways obvious paths cost you.
So what exactly happens when you take the obvious path?
3 things compound against you. First, you blend in. The prospect receives 10 versions of the same outreach. Yours might be slightly better worded, but the pattern is identical. Open with research. State the pain. Offer the call. When the structure is the same, the content doesn't matter. You're invisible in a crowd of identical approaches.
Second,
you trigger pattern matching defenses. The human brain is exceptionally good at recognizing familiar patterns. When your approach matches the template the prospect has seen dozens of times, the brain classifies it instantly. Sales pitch. Delete. This happens unconsciously, before they've read your second sentence.
And third,
you compete on execution rather than angle. When everyone uses the same approach, the only differentiator is who executes it slightly better. That's an arms race, marginal improvements in a crowded space. Meanwhile, someone approaching from an entirely different angle has no competition at all.
So the pattern is, I learn a best practice. I execute it well. It works for a while. Then everyone adopts it. It stops working. I try to execute it better instead of finding a new path. I'm running faster on a treadmill.
While someone who found a different path is walking slowly, and still arriving first.
How do I find the undefended paths?
3 approaches. Each one helps you see what the crowd can't.
Not better execution, different angles.
Different angles entirely. Approach 1. Invert the common move. Look at what everyone in your space does, then do the opposite. Everyone sends long emails. Send a one-sentence message. Everyone leads with pain. Lead with a genuine compliment and no ask. Everyone pushes for a meeting. Offer something valuable with 0 strings. Inversion creates surprise, and surprise opens doors.
Approach 2.
Change the channel entirely. If every competitor reaches out by email, try a handwritten note. If everyone uses LinkedIn, be present in industry communities where prospects participate organically. The medium itself can be the differentiation. An unexpected channel bypasses all the defenses built for the expected one.
And approach 3.
Solve an adjacent problem. Don't start with your product's use case. Find a smaller, related problem your prospect faces, one nobody else is addressing, and solve it freely. When you've helped with something nobody else noticed, you've created a relationship through a door that wasn't even marked. That's the ultimate undefended position. Now, the one line for this episode.
Let's hear it.
Obvious paths are defended.
Obvious paths are defended.
Before you execute your next outreach, pause. Is this what everyone else is doing? If the answer is yes, the path is defended. Find the angle nobody's taking. The unconventional approach. The message that doesn't match any template in their inbox.
So it's not about being weird for the sake of it.
It's about being unexpected for the sake of reaching them. The goal is attention, genuine, unguarded attention. You get that by arriving where defenses don't exist. 2 more tools. Ask yourself, what is every other salesperson in my space doing right now, and what's the opposite?
You're mapping the defended path to find the open one.
When you can describe the obvious approach clearly, the alternative becomes visible. The opposite of the crowd is almost always undefended.
And the second tool?
Before any outreach, ask, would this approach surprise them, or confirm what they expect? If they'd expect it, rethink. Surprise is the signal that you've found an undefended position. Expected is the signal that you're marching into prepared resistance.
3 tools. Obvious paths are defended. What's the opposite of the crowd? And, would this surprise them? All about finding angles that bypass accumulated defenses.
Let's lock them in.
Here's my takeaway. Best practices expire when everyone adopts them. The obvious path becomes defended by the crowd itself. Blending in, triggering filters, competing on execution, all symptoms of walking the expected route. The answer isn't better execution, it's a different path entirely.
Keep going.
Sun Tzu said, make the roundabout way the direct way. The path everyone takes is the most dangerous, because it's where the defenses are strongest. In sales, invert the common move, change the channel, solve an adjacent problem. Find the door nobody's watching. The principle, predictability is the enemy. Not of creativity, of access. The unpredictable approach reaches the decision maker because no filter was built for it.
Drill zone. Come back here before your next outreach campaign. You've written a cold email. It follows the standard template. Research, pain, CTA. Exactly like everyone else sends. What do you tell yourself?
Obvious paths are defended.
Again, like you've watched 1,000 identical soldiers march into the same valley.
Obvious paths are defended.
Good. Now the inversion question.
What is every other salesperson doing, and what's the opposite?
And the surprise test.
Would this approach surprise them, or confirm what they expect?
The sequence. Outreach plan is ready. Reset. Obvious paths are defended. Invert. What's the opposite of the crowd? Test. Would this surprise them? Don't march where the defenses are. Find the path nobody built a wall for.
Reset. Invert. Test.
This week's test. Take your current outreach approach. Write down exactly what it looks like. Format, channel, opening line. Then write the opposite. Try the opposite on 3 prospects. Compare the results.
And if the opposite feels uncomfortable?
Good. Discomfort means you've left the obvious path. That's where the defended terrain ends, and the open ground begins.
Which tool should I try first?
Whichever matches your week. A. Obvious paths are defended. B. What's the opposite of the crowd? Or C. Would this surprise them? Drop your pick in the comments. I read every one.
What's next?
How momentum is created quietly, and why the most powerful deals build force long before anyone notices. Same calm tone, one usable line.
Ancient strategy, modern sales, one usable line per episode.